So next we'll take a look at how the actual sculpting works and how the subdivision levels work. So first I want to change the material of the tool. So let's go here in this material icon, click on it, and this material menu or palette opens up, and let's pick the basic material. Okay, and if we hit this polyframe button here, we can see the topology of the mesh. Let's click the polyframe off and do a little bit of sculpting to it. So I will take the standard brush and just draw on the mesh. So as you can see, because the mesh is not very dense regarding its topology, the sculpting produces, or this standard brush produces very jagged forms. So what we need is we need more geometry. So let's go here into the geometry tab on the right, click on it, and then there is this divide button here. Let's hit it, and we can see that now all the initial polygons have been divided. Let's divide again and again and again, and every time that we divided, subdivision levels kept popping up. So we now have 5 subdivision levels. And also we had this polyframe on, but it's not showing anything in there. So that's because every time that we add a subdivision level, if we want to see the edges of the polygons while the polyframe is on, we have to first click it off and then on again, and now you can see those polygons. The edges are visible. And next, let's click this frame button. So what that will do is it will frame the mesh onto the view, into the canvas. So whenever we have really zoomed close, we can just hit that to fit it into the view. Or if we are really like far away from the mesh, like it's somewhere over there, just hit the frame button and we have it there again. Okay, so I'll deactivate the polyframe now, and let's draw a little bit on the mesh, and we can see that it's much more suitable for actual sculpting now. But we are also witnessing that there is this red tail following the cursor as we are drawing. So this means that we have lazy mouse active, and in order to deactivate the lazy mouse, we just hit the L button. And then let's try again. So now there's no lazy mouse, there's no any kind of delay in the drawing. So here in the menu bar there is this stroke drop menu, and we can find the lazy mouse from here. So this is what was active, and I'll make it more visible to you. This is lazy mouse is not something that you often use, but it's good to know that if you have that red tail following your cursor as you're sculpting, it means that you have lazy mouse on, and the hotkey for it is L. And I'll bump this lazy radius up a bit. So now I'm going to sculpt over here, and now you can see it more clearly that there is this tail that is following the cursor. And in some cases the lazy mouse might be very good feature, but maybe not usually when you're sculpting. So yes, let's just deactivate it. Then, in addition to just quite simply raising a surface, we can of course also carve a surface, and this is done by quite simply pressing down the Alt key. And as you press down the Alt key, you can see that there is a small minus appearing next to the cursor. So that means that the active brush is going to be, the action of the active brush is going to be reversed. So let's try that. Okay, so it's doing the exactly same kind of shape, but it's just reversing it. Like so. And then regarding the subdivision levels, let's go here into the geometry tab, and let's drop the subdivision level to something like 2. And well, of course, the geometry or the mesh is now not so dense. And now if we would click here to this del higher button, it will delete the higher subdivision levels. So now we can no longer move to the higher subdivision levels, meaning that we have actually lost all the detail that was held by those subdivision levels. So let's divide back to the 5th subdivision level, and we can see that it's completely different now from when it was in the highest subdivision level before we divided this cube anew. So let's take a look at that again. So now press down Ctrl and Z on PC and Command and Z on Mac, and that is the undo. So we're undoing the changes that we made. Now we are back in the 5th subdivision level, where we had all the more detailed sculpting. And we can see that here we have this undo history timeline, and we can move in the undo history timeline by just quite simply clicking on these segments. So now I'm going to pick the dam standard brush. And what I did right now here, you can see that all of a sudden these other brushes disappeared, and only these brushes that start with the letter D are now visible here. what I did was I just quite simply went into the brush menu and I hit the D key. And whatever key you press down, it will isolate all the brushes that start with that letter. So once you start to know the brushes a little better and you remember their actual names, you can search for a brush by just quite simply pressing the letter that the brush starts with. So I'm going to take this dam standard. So dam standard, you can carve this very fine deepening with the dam standard brush. So let's go to the subdivision level 2 again and del higher, and now if we divide back to the 5th subdivision level, we can again see that the finer details that we sculpted to the higher subdivision levels, they disappeared. So this is very good to know, because it also means that if we go back to the point where we have this finer detail sculpted in there, and now let's take the move brush. I'll bump the size of the move brush from here a bit, and then I will pull out this a bit. But we can do this also by going into a lower subdivision level. By the way, I'm using this move brush now with the combination of the Alt key. So as we dragged the very low poly mesh in the 2nd subdivision level, all the details on the higher subdivision levels also were moved. Their coordinates were also changed accordingly. So if you, for example, let's say that you have a face, for example, and you want to reshape the face a bit, you don't have to work on the highest subdivision level, but instead you can just go on a slightly lower subdivision level and then manipulate the simpler mesh a bit, and then go back to the higher subdivision level and then add whatever detail you want to add. This is still a bit too low, it's looking very polygonal, but the idea is just to show how these features work. So, oh, and also as you noticed, I picked the dam standard from here. So this area here, this quick pick area, is where all the brushes that you have been using during your sculpting session, modeling session, all of those brushes will be preserved in here during that session.